Hello and welcome to Dr. Sudhir's classes. In this session, we are going to understand what anthropologists think about poverty, right? How anthropologists try to understand or make sense of this concept of poverty. Poverty, we know that it is, you can say, inability of someone to make both ends meet, right? You can say it's a sense of deprivation. We do not have basic essentials to survive. That is poverty, right? And how does anthropologists look at this concept? That is very important and it is very interesting also. We are going to understand this concept of poverty in anthropology through two perspectives, right? So anthropologists have many perspectives, right? But we are going to understand from two perspectives. One is ideational perspective and the other is structural perspective. Now let us understand both of these. First and foremost, what is ideational perspective? Ideational, you know that what is culture? Culture is an ideational system, right? Culture, according to E.B. Tyler, is a complex whole made up of knowledge, art, morals, anything, or and you can say any capability and habit acquired by man as a member of society, right? So these habits, these behaviors we learn, we acquire, right, from early childhood. So you can say these value systems, these norms, they basically determine our behavior, right? These are ideational things that are deterministic, you can say, on our behavior. They have deterministic effect on our behavior. They determine what we do, why we do, how we do, right? You can say culture is an ideational system, right? So from this concept, ideational system, you can say culture personality school, culture personality theory, that was very popular in America, right? And you can say the students of French Boas, many students of French Boas like Margaret Mead, right? Her mentor Ruth Benedict and others, they contributed to this school, right? Learning from this school, one scholar, Oscar Lewis did his field work in Mexico, right? He did his ethnographic work in Mexico and he wrote a book, 5 Families Mexican Case Study in Culture of Poverty. Mexican case study on culture of poverty. Basically, what Oscar Lewis is saying in this work, he says that it is because of the culture that poverty is transmitted from generation to the generation, and these families, they are unable to come out of poverty because of their ideas, because of their behaviors, because of their attitudes. You can say, in a sense, if I try to apply this theory anywhere, so it says that Indian community, you can say the farmers community, or you can say tribals are poor because they have poor attitudes. Their attitudinal problem, their values are problematic. That is what this theory tries to say, right? You can say Oscar Lewis theorized this, that it is culture that lead to transmission of poverty from generation to generation, and it does not allow these people to come out of poverty. That is what Oscar Lewis is trying to say through his work. What he says that behaviors, beliefs learnt in the childhood. Lewis says behaviors and beliefs which are learnt in the childhood, they lead to multi-generational poverty. multi-generational poverty. So basically what is saying that whatever one learn in the childhood, it impact how they make their living, right? What they earn, how much they wanted to learn. So basically he studied these Mexican families and he say that these children in Mexican families, they show certain behaviors, right? Like they show sexual promiscuity, feeling of marginality, helplessness, dependency, lack of clear sense of judgment, all these behaviors that they learn in their childhood that do not allow them to escape the vicious cycle of poverty. That is what Oscar Lewis says. So it says that it is the culture that is responsible for poverty. Culture is an ideational system, right? It affects the way we think. So culture is responsible for poverty according to it, right? The implications of this theory is multifold. You can apply it on tribals, you can apply it on farmers, you can apply it on villagers, anywhere, right? But now let us test whether this is completely true or not. So the idea of culture of poverty was supported by few scholars, right? And one such scholar was Moynihan. Moynihan studied the African Americans and whites families, right? And gave a report, Moynihan report, on the basis of that ethnographic work on white and black families. And in this report that was given in 1965, he says that black families are falling behind the white families, right? His work was in New York City. It says that they fall behind the white families because of their culture, because of their attitudes, because of their values. So the work of Moynihan also supported, Daniel Moynihan supported the Oscar Lewis theory of culture of poverty, right? Now, this theory came under heavy criticism by structuralist thinkers, right? Structuralists say that it is the problem. Structuralist anthropologist says that it is the problem, structural problem in economy. Structural problem in economy which is responsible for poverty, not the ideational things or cultural things, right? What are the structural problems? You can say poor education, jobs, healthcare, right? Proper social security, right? Or any such things. These are responsible for poverty, and the prominent scholar was E.B. Leacock, who questioned, who critiqued the idea of culture of poverty of Oscar Lewis was E.B. Leacock. E.B. Leacock says that it is because of poor healthcare, education, lack of jobs, which is responsible for poverty, right? We cannot just brand some attitudes, some behaviors, some values as the basic reason for poverty, right? That is the, you can say, second approach that you can use. There are some other scholars who questioned this idea of Oscar Lewis, and another scholar was Judith Goode and Jeff Moskowski, along with E.B. Leacock. There is Judith Goode and Jeff Moskowski. Moskowski. Right, these two scholars also questioned the argument, right? They find that root cause of poverty is the economic processes, right? They studied the US economy and they say that economic processes, the way economic processes work is the root cause of poverty, right? If it leads to accumulation of wealth into some hands, or you can say some regions, but others are relatively deprived, that is the main reason. You can say they say is that it is the uneven development which is the root cause of it, right? It is inequitable development, uneven development which is responsible for poverty. Now, basically I gave you two ideas, right? First idea says that culture is responsible for poverty, and another say the economy, the structure of economy is responsible for poverty. Right? This idea associated with Oscar Lewis, here in this side you will put Lelock. Right. Now I would leave the final conclusion to you, that which one is more suitable, right? This is critiqued by this. I told you many examples, case studies, right? One case study from Oscar Lewis, other was Moynihan, right? Then here Lelock. All these examples you can cite to address this question. If at all they ask you the question on that, what is the anthropological perspective on poverty, right? I gave you another question within this discussion today, that if you are being asked to write a note on culture of poverty, how you can write, right? So how will you write this answer, culture of poverty? First and foremost, you will say, you will define what is it, what this concept says, right? Who gave it? So Oscar Lewis, right? Then from whom Oscar Lewis was inspired? So he was inspired from Culture Personality School of America, right? Then what is the explanation, right? How it explains poverty. So what it says, basically it says that cultural behavior, practices and values which are learned, they are responsible for poverty. So you can say it is the ideational system which is responsible for poverty, right? And this leads to generation by generation, you can say poverty transmit from one generation to the another generation, and they are unable to escape from the vicious cycle of poverty, right? These 4 or 5 things you have explained. After that, you will write the critiques of this idea. Before critiques, you can write who supported this idea, right? So supporters, Moynihan's report, you can say, you can then critiques, right? In critiques you will write Lelock, and finally conclusion. In conclusion, you cannot completely reject the idea of cultural poverty, culture of poverty, right? You must understand that it definitely gave us some insight to understand the nature of poverty, right? So you can say that to take people out of poverty, we have to work from both sides, structural side as well as ideational side, right? You can recall the ideal approach, you can say the approach of Amartya Sen, the capability approach, you can just think here, right? So you can conclude using the capability approach of Amartya Sen. So that combines both of these, right? You make people capable, then they can think of something. You cannot just say that they think like this. You make them capable, then they will start thinking like this, right? So this is the capability approach with which you can conclude your answer. So basically, the answer is the way you look at the topic, the way you understand the theme, that will help you to write better answers, right? To enrich them. These examples that I have included here, you can say scholars that I have quoted here, right? All of these you can quote and can fetch better marks also, right? So with such videos, such typical concepts, I will keep on coming, right? Thank you, all the very best.